final section of this report is what really created our Future of Real Estate initiative at Oxford. Professor Andrew Baum, who heads up the initiative, was previously a lecturer at Reading and then Cambridge, and he's written numerous textbooks on real estate theory. He's also been a great practitioner, sitting on the board of companies such as CBRE Investors. So this gentleman is someone who knows everything about the theory of real estate, and he can put it into practice. But when he wrote our original report, PropTech 3.0, people then believed he had some way of predicting the future. Chapter 7 is our updated attempt at really trying to figure out what are the near-term transformations that are going to occur in the real estate industry.
Hi, I'm Andy Saul from the Oxford Future Real Estate Initiative, and in this section we're going to look at the future that faces the real estate industry as a result of all the technological advances happening, as we detail in our report PropTech 2020. Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, "Change is the only constant in life." Well, despite this, James Dearsley in my opening section was quoted as saying, "Nobody in PropTech knows what the hell they are doing." Well, this section aims to add a bit of guidance through empirically analysing the technologies being used in the PropTech market to draw comparison across different applications. We've called this section Futures and not the Future, as we're aware that there are many possible outcomes, with hundreds of industry commentators suggesting their alternatives through the use of their crystal balls. We believe ours is the best, as it's the only one that has statistical founding and therefore can empirically back up its claims. Despite this, there are many different models which can be used to try and predict the future, and many remaining barriers to PropTech adoption. No single model is better than any other. The whole industry is also at the mercy of developments in exogenous technologies, and even bigger than that, global megaforces such as climate change and rapid urbanisation. We'll briefly touch on all of these while highlighting our predictions and then concluding. PropTech evangelists would have you believe that emerging digital technologies can and will be instantaneously applied to all and any real estate use case, in the process resolving all of the industry's current inefficiencies overnight. However, as the saying goes, if something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Gartner's hype cycle conceptualizes the maturity and adoption of emerging technologies, providing a sound source of insight to manage their deployment within the context of business-specific goals. This model has 5 stages. The first is the innovation trigger. A potential technology breakthrough kicks things off, and early proof of concept stories and media interest trigger significant publicity. Often no usable products exist and commercial viability is unproven. This technology then rises through as expectations grow until they reach their peak. An early publicity produces a number of success stories, often accompanied by scores of failures. Some companies take action, but many do not. These expectations are then not realised, and we get down to the trough of disillusionment. Interest wanes as experiments and implementations fail to deliver. Producers of the technology shake out or fail. Investments continue only if the surviving providers improve their products to the satisfaction of early adopters. We then reach the slope of enlightenment, where more instances of how the technology can benefit the enterprise start to crystallise and become more widely understood. Second and third generation products appear from technology providers, and more enterprises fund pilots, and conservative companies remain cautious. Finally, a technology reaches its plateau of productivity, when mainstream adoption starts to take off. The criteria for assessing provider viability are more clearly defined, and the technology's broad market applicability and relevance are paying off. So the first thing we did to try and understand PropTech adoption was we looked at their 2018 and 2019 models to see which of these exogenous technologies had real estate applications and their predicted time to maturities. You can see that most of these technologies are at least 5 years away, if not 10, and currently being discussed in the mass media at the top of the hype cycle, at the peak of inflated expectations, and so will likely not fulfill the promises which many hold. Given the conservatism of the real estate business, it will likely then take longer for these technologies to combine with real estate industry practices and form PropTech innovations. One example is that Satoshi Nakamoto first developed blockchain in 2008, but it was not until 2018 that it reached the top of the hype cycle, and only then did novel real estate startups begin to experiment with its real estate application. Not content with simply reading from the Gartner publications, we decided to explore the funding success of over 7,000 PropTech startups over time, using the 6 technology clusters most commonly used by PropTech companies, which were determined through our data-driven categorization in section 1. It should be noted again that the shared economy companies are not represented within this dataset. We can see that these individual funding trend lines seem to follow the same path as Gartner's hype cycle analysis, which allowed us to hypothesize the position and maturity of these different technology clusters, and thus predict which current industry models of operation are most likely to be disrupted by technology in the near term. For our 6 data-driven clusters identified earlier, what we see is that using levels of funding as a proxy for market type, those technologies used in data analytics have transitioned through the full hype cycle and will likely be the first PropTech solutions we see widely adopted by the real estate industry. While the position of the other clusters upon the hype cycle graph does not necessarily give an indication of their time to maturity and widespread adoption, what is clear is that many of the PropTechs being discussed today are done so around their peak of inflated expectations, and it's highly likely they will not fulfill the overhyped visions many have for their disruptive potential. However, when we consider Gartner's analysis, we see that the sheer scale of new technologies maturing within a 5 to 10 year time horizon, suggesting that by the end of the decade, things will certainly begin to look a lot different. Amara's law is so often used by startups in the industry that I've dubbed it the PropTech Psalm. However, to swallow my pride, it does seem somewhat fitting to quote now. We tend to overestimate the effect of technology in the short run and underestimate its effect in the long run. This analysis is all well and good for PropTech adoption, but often market disruption does not come from within, and real estate should be looking over its shoulder. Christensen in 1995 wrote his thesis, Disruptive Technologies Catching the Wave, published in the Harvard Business Review, which really coined the term disruptive technology. He wrote of the difference between sustaining and disruptive technologies, the former bringing efficiencies to the same or a similar process, while the latter is a change to the process altogether. Think of the difference between introducing new, thinner and stronger wheels for a horse and cart, making travel more efficient and maintenance easier and cheaper. This is merely sustaining the current practice. Now consider introducing the motor engine, making horses altogether redundant. Those who were in the stable business could never have foreseen such an impact, thus representing a disruption to the market. One of the key ways Christensen highlights to avoid being disrupted is to stop surveying your existing clients and seek the views outside of your industry of those who may be potential future clients. Yet how many real estate reports play family fortunes? And what I mean by this is they ask 100 of their existing clients and then report that to the existing client base. The property industry has a need to look outside the realms of PropTech, as it is highly likely this is where disruption will come from, and none are better positioned than the tech giants of Facebook, Google, Amazon, Alibaba, and Apple. In a world where data is king, these vast digital empires look to have real estate in their targets. Both Google and Amazon have partnered with residential brokers and rental agencies, offering up to $5,000 of their smart home technologies for free to customers who use their partnered real estate firms to complete their move. Amazon, Apple and Google all see the smart building sector as a battleground on which their technologies can grab a large amount of market share through first mover advantage. What starts as a residential focus could easily evolve into commercial real estate partnerships and eventually dominance, with each company possessing adequate funding to squeeze the margins of any real estate sector they decide to enter. Let's imagine for a moment that Google uses its vast search data to build a real estate recommendation engine. Amazon enters the office world, building products to connect people at work and enhance their efficiency, communications, and operation. Microsoft uses its CRM and company employee data to build a recommendation engine to help companies optimize office space locations. This quote doesn't even mention the most likely of these tech companies being Facebook, using their marketplace feature to produce its own residential brokerage, leveraging this building data with their troves of our personal data to create the world's most accurate auto-valuation model, before eventually taking over the global iBuying market or becoming a peer-to-peer transaction platform if and when property passports and smart contracts become a reality. Justin Wilson, the investment director at SoftBank, feels that any combination of technology trends which could generate a single commercial real estate platform would represent the holy grail of PropTech. However, Do we really want a full-stack, end-to-end software solution in the hands of a monopoly? Facebook has not exactly done a great role modelling this for the digital data sharing age. Further external disruption to the real estate industry could come from exogenous technology development. According to Metaprop, only 13% of PropTech companies are more than 5 years old. The risk of obsolescence of any individual technology is a critical factor affecting much of the potential technology adoption in such a rigid asset class as real estate. While this report is focused on those emerging technologies directly applicable to real estate, there is an unforeseen impact which exogenous technologies can have on the real estate industry. After all, who could have foreseen the impact which the internet or smartphones have had on how the real estate industry operates? While we do not have the foresight to suggest the likely application of all exogenous technologies, we need to be aware of the major direction of travel for tomorrow's technology. According to Gartner, the major developments are likely to be as followed. Hyperautomation is the application of advanced technologies to increasingly automate processes and augment humans. Multi-experience is replacing technology-literate people with people-literate technology, such as wearables and advanced computer sensors. The democratization of technology is providing people with easy access to technical or business expertise without extensive training. Human augmentation is using technology to enhance both an individual's cognitive and physical experience. Transparency and traceability will be technology which offers enhanced ethics, integrity, openness, accountability, competence, and consistency as a reaction to surveillance capitalism. Edge computing is a distributed computing approach which brings computation and data storage closer to the location where it is needed to improve response times and save bandwidth. Distributed cloud is a distribution of public cloud services to locations outside the cloud provider's physical data centers, but which are still controlled by the provider. This could be thought of as the shared economy 3.0, which we discussed in section 4. Autonomous things, drones, robots, ships and appliances which exploit AI to perform human tasks. Practical blockchain is a truly integrated distributed ledger shared by all participants in the network, extended to include autonomous machines and sensors. And AI security is protecting AI-powered systems, leveraging AI to enhance security defense, using machine learning to understand patterns, uncover attacks, and automate parts of the cybersecurity process. Not on Gartner's list, but in our report, is also quantum computing, with its vast processing power which threatens the security of all existing computational systems and potentially could be the key to unlocking true AI. It's also interesting to note reports are already surfacing which highlight the impacts of 6G internet connection, while 5G has not even landed in most major urban locations. However, no one knows what the future will hold, and as we've seen with previous world wars last century and the coronavirus only recently, there is always something unexpected that will come along and upset the status quo. So will we be writing about these technologies in PropTech 2030, the future of real estate? Or will some unexpected events occur that actually mean the end of real estate altogether? The important thing to remember when considering the future of real estate is that change will occur. It always has, it always will. Anyone telling you they know where and when is lying. If enough people make educated guesses, law of averages state that some will be correct. Many barriers to technology adoption exist, and the hype often does not match the reality. Our analysis finds that the PropTech companies leveraging spatial and data analytics will likely be the first mass adopted. However, there are companies far larger than any in real estate, holding far greater market power and leveraging billions more data points than any PropTech could dream of. We would be foolish to think that they will not be targeting a chunk of the $217 trillion global real estate market, the world's largest asset class. Accordingly, there is a need for regulation to push back and avoid the rise of a real estate data monopoly. No one could have predicted the effect the smartphone will have on daily life, let alone how we search, book, sell and buy real estate. The world of exogenous technology is developing faster than real estate applications can be made. This will have a far greater impact on real estate than any PropTech. Finally, it's important to remember that real estate is a small, highly immovable part of the ever-changing world. You cannot uproot and move your house should it befall to natural or man-made disasters. We are governed by laws which vary across the world and can change overnight, yet our assets are not so flexible. Real estate is completely at the mercy of these. So, bringing it all together, PropTech 3.0 is the application of the next wave of exogenous technology to the real estate industry. These technologies include artificial intelligence, machine learning, blockchain, Internet of Things, big data, among others. All technology is underpinned by data digitalization. The applications are in three main areas driving real estate innovations: smart buildings, real estate financial technologies, and the shared economy. While subsectors which influence the extent to which these three main real estate innovations can flourish include construction technology, smart city technology, legal technology, and financial technology. This talk has been presented in 5 different sections. In the introduction, we concluded that market consolidation is occurring, and PropTech is certainly not a fad. In the smart building section, we showed how user experience will begin to be factored into asset pricing decisions. We showed how transactions will become quicker, but only once data is digitalised, allowing for real estate financial technologies to function. The rise of collaborative consumption and space as a service will allow for comparisons of features and satisfaction ratings across buildings, changing the way we value an asset. Finally, we showed that the near-term transformation in the real estate industry through technology will likely be in how it conducts and uses data and spatial analytics. However, we must be aware of disruption from outside and avoid fueling a data monopoly. We discussed how unforeseen circumstances threaten even the best made plans. However, thanks to climate scientists, other threats to the future of the real estate industry are far more predictable. Not since Pangaea, 175 million years ago, has our planet been viewed as a single landmass. However, our modern civilizations are not connected by earth and rock, but by technology and transportation, united under the common banner of intergenerational equity. We are faced with some huge challenges. By 2050, the world's population is expected to double, with 90% of that growth predicted in Africa and Asia. For the first time in our history, 50% of the world's population is living in urban areas, and this figure is predicted to increase to 68% by 2050. This poses many questions of shelter, needs provision, resource consumption, and equality. We are living in a time of climate change, poverty, and data exploitation, which are only set to get worse. Esther Boserup's seminal 1965 study on the carrying capacity of land first described how necessity is the mother of invention. With our land now more united than ever, and as the world turns to new inventions to satisfy our most urgent needs, the PropTech industry must play its part as a benign contributor to human welfare. All that's left to say is thank you for listening. I hope you've learned something new. You can go online to the website at the bottom there on the right, and you'll be able to download the PropTech 2020 Future of Real Estate as well as all of our other reports for free. We are on LinkedIn. We have a LinkedIn group if you search for Future of Real Estate Initiative. And we also have a Twitter page at Oxford4. All of your feedback is welcome, and you can send that to realestate.reports@sbs.ox.ac.uk. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and until next time.